Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be drawing some more character interactions. I found this picture on Pinterest and I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and doodle those out. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up the reference for you guys here right now. So go ahead and follow along with me if you're interested. I'm going to be honest, this week I really didn't know what to draw. I had like a really tiring week last week. Just like a little bit of stress, some stuff that made me just a little bit tired. I had to wake up really early and I didn't go to bed until late. So I was really sleepy. So it kind of wore me out for this week. Also, especially because, I record my videos in advance and then I post them later. So I was really kind of not really wanting to draw anything. And also, I was working in this sketchbook and I was sick of working in this sketchbook and I needed a change. So, but I still had to finish it before I would let myself move on to anything else. So, yeah, it was just like it was just like a lot. So, I really wanted to do something easy for this week. So sorry if the videos are maybe a little bit boring. I hope they're not boring, but I guess we'll find out. So I decided that I was going to do some more character interactions. I was just scrolling through Pinterest looking for something and I came across this one and it was like a coupley thing and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do like a coupley thing this week. So this is actually a drawing of my characters. They are John and Jane Doe. And so I was like, I need to do some pose practice anyway, and I never really draw these guys, not because I don't like them, it's just they're never really at the forefront of my mind. And I was like, well, their only personality traits is that they are a couple. So I'll just draw them doing some coupley things, which is it's not like their only traits are that they're a couple, but I really have not developed them super a lot. So whenever I think of them, it's only in like a coupley sense, just because they're like the only married couple that works at the restaurant that they work at. And so when I think of them, I think heterosexual couple, I guess. So I was just gonna do this for them. But yeah. I struggled a little bit when it came to these. So when you see me draw these, I'm actually gonna draw out all the poses that I want to do first before adding details to them. I only end up doing 4 pictures just because I felt like I could do like the whole setup with like the 6, but I was like, no, I don't want to. Was it like 6 or is it like no, sorry, it's 9, not 6. But yeah, I was like, I don't want to do all 9 poses. And also, I don't think I'd be able to fit them all on the page. And also, like I said, I was feeling a little bit burnt out and tired. So I didn't want to do all 9 of them. So yeah, but I was struggling a little bit just because their designs are not super finalized. Like Jane's design, the girl, her design is more finalized than her husband's, John's design. And so when I was drawing him, I was like, um, I guess I'll just put him in a do-rag because he's sleeping. And so the reason I did that is because he actually has locks, but I actually don't want him to keep having the locks. I just not sure how I want his hair to look. I thought about giving him waves and I was like, how do you even depict waves in like a drawing? I'm sure there's a way. I just had to look at some other artists and the way that they depict waves, but I don't know. I'm really just going back and forth on his hairstyle just because since they are like spies, government spies, and they're like in hiding, I feel like he probably had like just a sharp tapered fade or whatever when he was in the military. Not when he was in the military, but when he's part of the FBI or whatever. But I was like, if you're trying to be in hiding, you kind of want your hair to look different. And so I'm not really sure what I want his hair to be now. And I'm like, well, waves is too close to like a fade, right? I mean, you can have a fade and waves, but that's not the point. So I was like, locks probably makes more sense. Like you're gonna grow your hair out longer, so it'll look different. But I'm like, no, because Hope already has locks, and then this is sort of kind of the locks that I end up giving him are like really close to like those locks that everybody is sick of seeing on characters. And I agree. I'm also kind of sick of seeing that hairstyle. So I was like, even though I came up with this character, like a long time ago. He's had locks for like 5 years at this point, but still, I'm like, I don't want to. So I don't know what to do about his hairstyle. If you guys have any ideas for male hairstyles, black male hairstyles, I'm all for it. I don't know. I just feel like I thought maybe braids, but I'm not really great at drawing braids. I mean, I could practice, but I don't know. For a long time, he just had like this headband thing that he wore, and then his locks were like peeking out at the top. And I guess I could do the same thing of of that, but with braids. Think like Allen Iverson, the basketball player. I like the way his braids look and the way he wears his headband when he was in the NBA. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on it. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't really have too much to say about this artwork just because mostly it's like copying the reference. What I do have to say about it is what I've noticed is that I struggle with placement of limbs and also negative space. So negative space is basically like the space outside of like a figure or a drawing, right? So if you like have a picture of like a chair and it's in an empty room, right? Everything around the chair would be the negative space. But also if the chair had arms and there was like a space where you would like see the arm and the chair, like picture like I feel like I'm having trouble describing this. Picture like a chair, right? If you look at the legs of the chair, there's like four legs, and then the space in between those legs where there's nothing in between the leg, right? That would also be negative space. And so I have trouble with getting negative space in the correct proportions. So let's say like you're drawing an arm, like you have an arm behind your head, and there's like the top of your arm, the top of the top part of your upper arm, and then the part of your lower arm. There's like this triangle of space that's empty. I have trouble making sure that that is proportional to the photo, right? So you look at the photo and then you draw it. And so whenever I draw it in the photo, it's usually, whenever I draw it in like my sketchbook, it's usually either bigger or smaller than that space is truly in the photo or in real life. And so I'm trying to figure out a way so I could get that space to be proportional. And the reason why is just because it will make the pose look more realistic, and it will actually make it look more like the pose that I'm going for. Negative space is actually really important for you to like master as an artist, just because it just helps with shape and form and stuff. I'm not great at negative space, but I'm trying to get better at it currently. I know it's like kind of like a weird concept to write your head around without like visual examples, so I'm sorry about that. I don't have any visual examples for you guys, so talking about it with just words is actually really confusing. So I apologize for that. But I feel like negative space is actually something that's really covered pretty well in like YouTube videos and stuff. So if you are interested for learning about negative space, I would just go ahead and look up videos of it. I'm not like the end all be all of art information, and I'm not really the best at explaining, so I apologize for that. But if you're interested in negative space, I do think it's something that's really important to learn, and I'm trying to figure it out currently. So yeah. And so I'm struggling with that, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that better. And I think that really exemplifies in this piece, quote unquote, this a sketchbook doodle. But yeah, and then also I figure out that I actually draw arms way too long. Not in normally, I don't feel like I draw them way too long, but when I'm looking at a reference, I have trouble getting the position right, like the angle of arms. So I end up overcompensating, and I end up making the part of the arm, whichever arm that I draw second, I end up making it too long just to make sure that the arm or the thing, the hand ends up where it's supposed to be. So if you look at that very first drawing, her hand is like supposed to be behind his back, right? She's supposed to be like wrapping her arms around him, but the arm is like way too long. It's like out of proportion. But it's just because I needed to get her arm behind his back because I didn't draw their bodies close enough together, and so I'm overcompensating with the arm, and so I'm like, I have to figure out a way to like get like distances figured out. Like I feel like I could draw that by myself, but when I'm looking at the reference, I feel like I get a little bit off with like proportions and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out a way to do that a little bit better. And that's kind of the reason why I'm trying to study character interactions. Firstly, because if I'm going to be drawing comics, characters are going to be interacting a whole bunch like all the time. So that's something I have to do. But also, when you're drawing character interactions, you have to draw the characters like touching and overlapping and stuff. And I feel like part of that is getting the sizes right. So you see me right now drawing this part of the drawing, which is she is sitting on his lap, so he's reading to her or whatever. She is much too big. Like her head is too big and stuff. And I promise this is not me shitting on my art. I know I talked about you guys. I'm trying to be more positive about my art, but genuinely this is like a critique from like a positive place. Like these drawings I feel like are not up to like standards for myself, but I feel like that's okay because I'm trying to learn. And so this is a critique from a learning perspective. I know I harp on this sometimes, you guys, but I'm not trying to be negative in the sense where, oh, I suck so bad and I hate everything that I do. I don't feel that way. And I actually feel like starting this YouTube channel has really helped me feel better about my art. And so when I'm saying this, it's from like a purely analytical place. It's not like from a negative emotional place. It's from like a teaching perspective. Like when you're on your own learning art, like I'm self-taught, obviously self-taught in the sense where I learn from YouTube videos and not like from a formal class, but it's like you have to be like your own teacher too. And so part of that is analyzing your work and seeing what's not working. And so that's part of how you get better. Like You have to study your mistakes and see the mistakes that you're making so that way you can improve upon them. And so when I'm talking about my mistakes in these videos, I'm not talking about them where like I'm so stupid, I could have done this better now. I'm talking about them purely from an intellectual standpoint. I hope that makes sense to you guys, right? So I've noticed these things and I'm like, okay, I see this is this, and this is wrong, right? And so I'm gonna be able to look at that and be like, okay, so next time I'm gonna do it like this, or I'm gonna shrink the size of the negative space, or I'm gonna increase the size of the negative space, or I'm gonna draw the figures a little bit overlapping so that way they will actually fit together the way that they're supposed to. Like when I draw figures now, I feel like I'm afraid of drawing them overlapping. But that's what happens, right? If you're sitting on someone's lap, your body is overlapping with them, right? And so that's part of learning is a self-critique. And you need to do self-critique. Not, you don't need to do anything, obviously, but when you do self-critique, I would urge you to look at your mistakes not from an emotional place, but from an intellectual space. Just because it's one thing to harp on yourself and be like, I hate everything that I do. It's another thing to be like, I made these mistakes, but I know what they are now, and I know why it's looking like this, and I know how to fix it. Or I know that I have to move towards fixing this, right? And so art is fun, art is emotional, art should create emotion within you. But when you're learning, you kind of have to like pull back your ego a little bit and pull back your emotions a little bit and be like purely analytical just to like spare your own feelings and to actually get to like the learning stuff, I feel like. And so I feel like I've been able to get to a point where I'm like a little bit less emotional about mistakes, which makes me really happy. It makes me feel excited because I feel like I actually am improving quite a little bit. And so, yeah, I feel like that's good. Not to say that I think it's bad that if you feel disappointed in your work that that's bad. I don't feel like that's bad. I feel like that's normal. It's human. It's okay to feel bad about things that you feel like you could do better. That's okay, but I think it's not good to dwell on those things. And I think that if you're trying to learn, like if you were trying to teach somebody something, right, and they mess it up, you wouldn't be like, "Hey, you're stupid. Why would you do that?" Right? Nobody would talk to other people like that. So you shouldn't talk to yourself that way either. Like you have to think of yourself as like your best friend. Like this is somebody that is trying to learn and they're trying to improve and they're trying to grow, and that's commendable. And that person is you, right? And so you have to treat yourself with kindness. And I think I've gotten a little bit better at treating myself with kindness ever since I started my YouTube channel, just because I tell you guys about it and it's like reiterating that in my own head. So I feel like I really need to reiterate these things to myself, like write it in a journal, write it like you're writing to your friend or something. Maybe make your own videos and talk to yourself, like talk to your audience how you like someone to talk to you, you know? So it's okay if you don't like things, right? It's okay if you feel like your art comes out poorly sometimes. That's all good. That's all okay. But we need to also think of ourselves positively. And I feel like ever since I started this channel, and I've been able to think of myself a little bit more positively because I think so positively of you guys, of all my subscribers. And we're almost at 200 subscribers now. And I think that's super awesome. That's super great. I appreciate you guys all the time. And I just feel like I had to talk to you guys so sweetly, so nicely because you're all so good and you're all so nice and you watch my videos. And even if you didn't watch my videos, you still be so sweet and so nice just because we share our hobby together. But yeah, so talk to yourself how you would talk to another person. If you're trying to learn, that's commendable and that's great. And it's good that you're trying to improve yourself. I think that's great. And even if you're not trying to learn, that's fine too. That's good too. Sometimes we're like, I just like to do this thing and I like to do it this way. And I don't want to learn anything new. And that's great too, right? But also, sometimes when you're in a state where you're not improving and you're not trying to improve, you can still get down on yourself. So remember to be nice to yourself too, even if you're just a hobbyist who's not looking to improve. It's good to look up at yourself instead of looking down on yourself. I hope that makes sense. I hope that was not like too touchy feely for you guys. I just feel like one of the things that is like the best for like self improvement and stuff and just being in a better mental state is just faking confidence. Like I feel like a lot of people talk about you should try to be confident, fake it till you make it sort of thing. And I've always felt like that was kind of disingenuous. It's like, how do you fake it till you make it sort of thing? And I don't think I'm faking it till I make it. Like, I don't think my stuff is the best or whatever. It's just that I've accepted that it's not going to be the best and that's okay. Right? I've accepted mistakes. I've accepted imperfection. I've accepted that a lot of my drawings are going to look like shit. And I don't think that's a negative thing to think about yourself. I think it's a realistic thing to think about yourself. And I think that that's okay. And I feel like getting over things needing to be pretty and perfect and whatever is just a really good way to instill confidence in yourself. Because if when you stop thinking of yourself as the worst ever and you start thinking of yourself as somebody who just makes mistakes sometimes and everybody makes mistakes sometimes and that's chill, that that actually increases your confidence a lot because I just feel like thinking of yourself as the worst is not good, but thinking of yourself as mediocre is actually okay. So, which is like, you're like, oh, but I don't want to be mediocre. I want to be great. It's like, yeah, everybody wants to be great, but not everybody is great all the time. And so when you're like, this is mediocre, and that's okay, that's great. And so when you actually do something that's awesome, you're like, wow, that was actually really good. And I feel like this is like, maybe this is like super negative, maybe not negative, but like I don't know, maybe like having low expectations for yourself might not be like the best thing ever, but I feel like lowering my expectations actually helps me out a lot. And so it's like, it's not like I'm accepting terrible art. Like I'm like, oh, this is terrible, but it's also the best thing ever. It's not like that. It's more like this is terrible, but that's all right. Who cares? It's just for me. Even if I show it to other people, they don't care. Let's be honest, you guys. Okay, even if you make stuff, I know there's like a lot of people in the art community who will bully people who have bad art or whatever. And I'm not trying to discount people's experiences with people being mean to you online because they felt like your art was bad. Okay, I'm going to be honest. Those people are assholes. Ignore them, block them, even if it's everybody. Delete your whatever and make a new one, but don't ever let other people dull your shine. If they're like your art is shitty and you feel like your art is shitty, well, that's none of their business really. Like I feel like don't let other people drag you down. I know that's like easy for me to say because I'm like a full grown adult and I don't really have to like deal with other people. And I have a small following on the internet. But if people start being shitty to me, I'm just gonna block them, delete them. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't know you person on the internet. And like, if they feel the need to be mean to you on the internet, that speaks more about them than it does about you. I know I sound like a teacher or like a parent preaching to children or whatever, but it's true. Like, you don't need to talk to anybody on the internet. And even if everybody is mean to you, like, because of your art, like, they're like, your art is ugly, like, that's more on them than it is on you. And like, you don't even need to post your art on the internet. I know it's like something that artists feel like they're supposed to do, but I feel like my happiest times doing art was when I wasn't showing it to anybody. And so, yeah, if you want to grow a following, you have to deal with people who are shitty, but also not really. There's some people who are like, you got to keep the haters around because they give you views. I'm like, no, I don't. Okay. If someone's mean to me, I'm blocking them and I'm deleting them. Okay. Because I feel like guarding your own self confidence is really important as an artist because if you let other people drag you down, you're going to lose motivation and you're not going to want to do anything. And I would hate for that to happen. So if people are being mean and shitty to you for unnecessary reasons, like if you did something bad and people are like, hey, you should take accountability for that, that's something completely different. If people are like, your art sucks and you suck, that's like, who cares? Like, fuck that guy, right? They're lonely and they're sad or whatever. I don't know if they're lonely and they're sad, but obviously they have some sort of thing where they feel like they need to be mean to people unnecessarily, and that's an issue that they have. Okay, I feel like if you're being mean to people unnecessarily, you need to go see a therapist about your insecurities and why you're projecting them onto other people. That's not cool, right? And so you just have to remember that people who are mean to you unnecessarily, it's really more about them than it is about you. And like, they're mad that you are having confidence in showing off art that they feel like is ugly, or maybe they don't even think that it's ugly, but they think that they're better than you, and they're like, why do they have more followers than me? Why are they doing better than me? I'm better than them, right? That's a complex for them. It has nothing to do with you. When people are mean to you, it really has nothing to do with you, dude. It's unjustifiably being mean to you. That's nothing to do with you. And I just feel like people have to remember that. I haven't really experienced too much negativity on the internet, thankfully. But if my channel gets bigger, I'm sure people will come and try to be negative. But like I said, block and delete. Okay, it's one thing to like not accept criticism for things that are justified, like, hey, maybe your anatomy uses a little bit of work, or I feel like your art is really great and I just feel like maybe this one thing would improve it. Like, that stuff is all like constructive criticism, and you don't have to accept constructive criticism. You just be like, hey, thanks for the advice, I appreciate it, but I would rather not do that. That's cool, that's chill. I would never like urge people to like do things that they don't want to do. Like, if you don't want to improve your art, that's on you, dude. That's none of my business. Anyway, I feel like I kind of lost the plot there and I kind of got derailed and I didn't really talk about the drawing too much, but I really didn't have much to say about it other than I felt like the character designs, I struggled with them a little bit, and the art didn't come out very good, but that's okay because I've learned that even if my art is bad, I'm still, it doesn't make me bad, you know? It doesn't make me a bad artist or whatever. It just means that the art didn't come out the way that I wanted. And that's okay. And I feel like this ended up being more of a pep talk than a video talking about the art. But I feel like my videos end up like that sometimes. And you know what? I don't really have a problem with that just because I feel like everybody needs a pep talk sometimes. And so maybe you watched this video and you're like, well, it's just an art video. And then you watched it and you're like, you know what? I actually really did need a pep talk. And so I hope that that worked out for you guys. I'm not a motivational speaker, but I do get very passionate about art, and I get very passionate about other people being mean to you and you being mean to yourself, okay? You would never be mean or rude to someone because they are trying something and it's not coming out the way that they planned it, right? And if you are the type of person who does that, maybe self examine yourself, right? If you see somebody improving, do not, or trying to improve themselves, do not make fun of them. That is so mean and terrible. And that would be just really awful if you were trying to improve yourself and someone was mean to you because they felt like you weren't further enough on your journey. Everybody's journey comes at their own pace. And so we should try to remember that when we see somebody doing something and we felt like maybe they're not doing their best or maybe their stuff is ugly or whatever, that's none of your business. And ugliness is subjective, okay? Right? Just because you think it's ugly doesn't mean other people don't find value in it. And I feel like people need to learn to scroll when they don't feel like things are nice or like it doesn't appeal to them. If it doesn't appeal to you, it's not for you, buddy. Not everything is for you, and that's okay. Let people like what they like as long as they're not hurting anybody, and let people build up self confidence so they can improve. Don't tear someone down when they're on the beginning of their art journey or the middle of their art journey or even toward the end of their art journey. Don't do that. That's so mean and unnecessary. And I feel like we should all just be nicer to each other, which is like a very like what's it called? Optimistic way of looking at the world. Obviously, people are always going to be mean to each other, but I feel like if we all make the effort to just be a little bit nicer, things would just be a little bit better. Which is like, oh, and we're all going to hold hands and skip and eat rainbows and stuff. Yeah, well, maybe we are. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I appreciate you guys spending the time with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.